we're going to take a look into Epstein's private bedroom. Like I said, I've never had ambitions to look into Epstein's private bedroom before, because I'm sure that bad stuff happened there. Have you guys ever been somewhere and you could just feel the evil energy? So when I was at Oregon State Penitentiary, they were remodeling where death row was. And it had been death row. Like this is the oldest prison in the state. It looks like a Shawshank Redemption type of prison. So it's old. It's looks like a castle, bars. It's not one of these new prisons where they were redoing their death row, where people wait for decades to die. The most evil people that they catch in the state wait there for decades and then they die. So when I was in the hole, they moved everybody into the old death row after they remodeled and made a new death row. And so I was housed where they kept the most disgusting, demented murderers, rapists, the worst of the worst, the most disgusting creatures you could ever imagine. And I was in one of those cells where somebody waited for decades to die. And you could feel an energy and a presence in there. And that's kind of what I would suspect it feels like in Epstein's private bedroom. It doesn't look nearly as dirty and foul, but let's take a look. We're going to hop right in here.
Inside Epstein's bedroom, O'Keefe Media Group continues our exclusive tour of the private island formerly owned by the alleged sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, and looking inside each of the buildings on the island. Today we're going to bring you inside Jeffrey Epstein's bedroom. We've previously shown you the kitchen and the library, but in Epstein's bedroom, we've made our most dramatic discovery yet. Landline telephones.
So his bedroom looks pretty normal. It looks like a normal Richie bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Pretentious, a bunch of shit that probably costs way more than it should. The thread count on that bed, on the sheets, is probably insanely high. Those lamps probably cost more than any of us make in a year. And he's got 2 of them. This doesn't look like the type of bedroom that I would expect. It doesn't look like a house of horrors, but I'll bet you could still feel it. I'll bet it feels foul in there. Now, what he's about to get into is that he had landlines and they were able to analyze what he had on speed dial. So you guys want to know who Epstein had on speed dial? How many people think that Trump is going to be on Epstein's speed dial? Let's get into it.
That show pre-programmed speed dial buttons labeled with names. You see the phones on the side of the bedroom tables here. We're going to take a look at these phones and the names on them. But first, the room itself, sparsely furnished. On the desk, you see what's known as a phrenology skull. Phrenology is a debunked pseudoscience linking skull shape to personality traits.
It's the type of thing you get in an occult shop in Portland, Oregon that smells like patchouli and cat ass.
On one bedside table, you see a notepad that says Little St. James, that's the name of the island, printed at the bottom of each page, and a set of reading glasses of similar type worn by Epstein in deposition footage. The most striking detail, we see a Panasonic console phone on each bedside table.
I think that this really points to exactly how long ago all of this went down. To have landline phones and shit, bro. Old school landline phones. This case is aged for so long without us getting even a look like this. This is a pretty timid, tame look at the inside. It took this long just to get this. I mean, we got some flight logs last year, but there's still no proof in those flight logs. All it shows is that some people flew. They have given us no details. Any other case like this in American history, we get the details. This one has been entirely different, which makes me suspicious.
The multiple lines are labeled. The speed dial buttons bear the names of Epstein's staff and associates. These are the individuals Epstein called most frequently from his private island. Nobody has ever seen these before. We assume The FBI and the Department of Justice has these, but have not released it. Here you have NY office. That's Jeff Epstein's New York City office. This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's last girlfriend. Okay. Darren Off.
She looks a lot young for him, doesn't she? Ugh. Like what? How old? Does anybody know how old Karina was? Does anybody know? I should have looked that up, man. I should have looked that up because she looks way too young for that old ass bastard, man. Not cool, bro.
That's Darren Indyke, an Epstein advisor and lawyer. You have Rick.
I would have a lawyer on speed dial too if I was him. I'm not gonna lie to kick it, bro. If I was him doing the shit that he was doing, I would have my lawyer on speed dial, especially with that underage ass looking girlfriend that he had. Super weird, bro. Super don't like it. I don't feel none of that shit.
Rich office. That's Richard D. Kahn, Epstein's advisor and lawyer, and Patrick Sell. That's Patrick McMullen, an Epstein associate, and STC office. That's the Special Tax Office of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Why did he have the Special Tax Office on speed dial? I'm not that hip with business yet. I own small businesses, but I'm not that plugged in and in tune with how shit works to know why he would need to have the Special Tax Office of the Virgin Islands on speed dial. It's a little weird.
Here we have another phone that was actually in a different room, but we see some of the same names and some new names. We see a Carlos, a Danny, which looks to be scribbled out with Kim written above it, a Mike, an Anna, and a Juggly. Now, what's interesting about Juggly is at first we thought it was Ghislaine Maxwell's nickname, but from what we could see online, her nickname, Epstein referred to her as G-Max. Don't know who Juggly is, but maybe you in the audience can help us solve that mystery. These are all of the known associates that Epstein would call on speed dial. Again, we assume the United States government has this. This is the first time anybody has.
So we went through all of his speed dial stuff. For those of you who we took the poll before we went through that, and I asked if anybody thought that Trump would be on the speed dial, Trump was not on the speed dial. So there's our answer right there. That is the long and short of that question. And I wasn't really surprised by anyone that was on there, except the state tax office.
Has published these on the internet. You might be wondering why we aren't just dumping all of this immediately. Some people in the comments saying you should publish everything right now. Well, that's really not what journalists are supposed to do. We're trying to corroborate this and verify that what you're seeing is legitimate and understand who is on these phones before we report this information to you. People are messaging us every minute here at OMG at our Signal account, 914-491-9395. It's blowing up. Our Signal again, 914-491-9395, or they're sending a tip through our website or at tips@o'keefemediagroup.com.
So this dude is doing such incredible work. And I think that a lot of the information that he's got coming in is coming in straight through inside the government. I think this dude is getting shit straight through the government. But I do believe that he's probably getting some crazy tips. O'Keefe Media Group they're not within, the big media. I always say we can't hate the media enough. O'Keefe Media is outside of the media, and they're reporting on things that the media should be reporting on, but they're not. And that tells me everything I need to know. That they're not reporting on this stuff tells me that it's shit that I want to know about. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that it's the really important stuff is the stuff that they're not going to tell us about? Because that's the stuff that I think is really important. I want to know about the shit that they're not trying to let us onto. So I really appreciate the work that he's doing. If you want to go sub to O'Keefe Media Group, OMG Media Group, choice name, bro. OMG. I love that. He's really dope. And yes, it is real journalism.